Hello. I believe I'm live here. I hope you can hear me and see me. I had a little bit of a hiccup last week in regards to my audio. I've got some new audio here, so I thought that you couldn't hear me at all, but I just had to go into my settings and change a few things. Thankfully, because I legit thought that I didn't have any audio. So as I'm learning, you know, technology and the world of it's different for me. It's completely different. I'm not trained in broadcasting technology, audio, microphones. So but that's okay. I'm willing to learn, and it's not an option not to have these tools. So I have to learn them, and I have nobody to do it for me. I do have, some family and friends that give me tips and stuff, and I've got a husband that's pretty, tech. He knows his tech, but he's not really helping very much with this. And I'll get into that. I'll get into that, and I'll share that. But anywho, welcome to Tough Talks. Every Thursday at noon. This is episode 2. All right. So what we do here is really just have real life conversations, real life scenarios, real life talks, raw talks. So there's really no limits here. There's honesty, vulnerability, and truth, and just being authentic, being able to speak about. This is a place where I'm able to share, and people are able to come on and or watch the replay and really connect with what life is different, why we do the things that we do, why we say the things that we say, the patterns that we have, the triggers that we have, the relationships that we get into, the jobs we pick, the family. I mean, everything is, there's really no limits here. It's a space that we can come to and really just normalize things without any judgment, or shame is my intention here. And to be able to open up a space and a platform that is really unscripted. I don't come in with any notes. Everything is up here, which is I gotta say, it's a little bit of a scary place for me, because I am quite organized. I do like to have notes, and I like to have topics, and then I like to give, although I used scenarios, and I use real life experiences, I would typically also have some notes in the background, and to be able to kind of rely on and to lean on if I get stuck or what have you, but not here, not with the tough talks. It was shown to me through my intuition and my guidance that just go on and you'll know what to do. And so I kind of check in with myself before I start this, because this is not. I'm like I'm nervous, and this is new. Okay, this is a complete different thing for me, and so before I do come on, I spend some time with myself. And I trust my higher self. I trust my guidance. I trust my intuition. And this is based on my life experiences. So I do sit myself down. I do some breathing, a little bit of breathing exercises, a little bit of mindfulness, just to kind of quiet the central nervous system and say, all right, let's see what comes in. All right. And so let's just get into it, all right? I may start with one topic and go off on a next. And a lot of times that comes in for me as strong thoughts. So I can be on a complete different topic. And whoever's listening to this, whoever's watching it on the replay, whoever, I can be on one topic and something strong, a thought will come in for me to say, this is what needs to be said. All right, and that's this is all quantum physics here. This is all energy, and so I do believe in guides. I do believe in my intuition and my higher self, and it's quite strong, especially these days, because I am showing up in life here, and because I am taking risks. I'm being vulnerable. I I'm being raw and real, and the the thoughts, the guidance is quite strong, especially this week. This week has been quite interesting, and I'm grateful. I'm grateful for that because there was a couple months there at the beginning of the year that guidance really did take a back seat, and it wasn't as strong as it's been throughout the last couple of years, especially within the last 2022 was a lot of shifts personally for me. But within the last couple months, there was not much intuitive support there. And really, what that was is because I needed to be present with myself, and I needed to stop relying on things outside of myself. And that includes our higher power, that includes our guidance, that includes, we got to sit with our own consciousness, is really what came in for me. And I knew what was happening, and I had to surrender to that. And it was a couple months. There was a few weeks in February, as I've explained before. It was really, really strong. And there was like all my shit was coming up, all of my beliefs, false beliefs, that programming that really came up for me in February, and had a lot of resentments, and towards my universe and my guidance. I had a lot of resentment, and they weren't helping at all. And as I sat with it, what kind of chimed in was, you need to be with yourself, okay? But within the last couple weeks, especially, and end of March, beginning of April, they kind of came back on. And I've got a couple guides here, three in particular that have been shown to me many times, even throughout my life. But as I have really been practicing, you can call it spirituality. I don't care what you call it. It's my team, my own personal team, that we can't see in front of us, but I absolutely tap into. And there's three for me. There's an older lady, a girl about my age, and then there's a younger man, probably about his early 20s. But they'll come in. So they came in for me again, really strong end of March, beginning of April. And they were celebrating, just celebrating, and really commending and praising me and thanking me for the work that I've done throughout the couple months on myself, and being able to sit in what I needed to sit in order to release, being able to be aware. Okay. And as I mentioned earlier, with the technology and even this whole platform with Facebook and going live and such is very different than I did for my signature programs that I have with Turnleaf, and my Talk 10 for 30. That was all recorded. I've got some new equipment here. I've got new camera and new microphone and such. And typically I just tap on my husband's shoulder and said, come and help me out, set up my stuff. And he was just kind of tiptoeing around it. I'm busy and I don't have time. And that frustrated me. And I was like, how dare you not, I'm thinking, I'm judging. Now I'm judging him. I'm in judgment. And I'm thinking like, you don't want to help me set up my stuff. Like, you knew I was doing this. I spoke about it. This is big for me, big, big milestone for Turnleaf, yada yada, just the things that you tell yourself. And typically he would. Typically, it's not even a question. It takes him 2 seconds to come and plug a few things in, and he does what he does. But this time, as I sat in judgment of him, and I was in resentment as well. What came in for me was, you need to learn this on your own, and you need to be able to give yourself and learn the skills that you're expecting others to do for you. And when there's awareness, okay, there's awareness there. I know what I'm doing. I see that I'm doing this because I'm triggered. I'm fired up. And now I see myself judging. And now, there's blaming. And if my microphone wouldn't work, and last weekend, that's what it was, my microphone, I thought wasn't working. Well, then I would have him to blame. I'm going to blame somebody else for that. And we do this in relationships across the board, and we don't even know we're doing it. We don't realize we're doing it. We just become so dependent. 12. We just become so dependent on everyone doing for us. And this is, the minute we're born. And then, of course, the society that we live in, we're told what to do. We're told to go to school. We're told how to. We're told how to speak, use your manners, how to dress. There is a system in place and a behavior and behaviors that are valued and that are not so valued and favorable. So with myself and setting everything up, if something went wrong, then we project. I would have been able to blame him and said, well, if you would have just, if I didn't figure it out, because last Thursday it was a long day with clients, and then it was a long day and night with Turnleaf, because I couldn't hear myself, and I spoke with him about it. I did. I was like, I can't hear myself. And he could have totally went in and said, oh, your settings, your microphone, you need to switch your audio. He was like avoiding me. And he's not like this. So I had to, because I was fired up. So it gave me an opportunity to then look at myself and say, what do I need to learn here? And guidance did come in for me last Thursday, and say, and legit, straight up, do it yourself. Learn it on your own. He owes you nothing. You need to learn your technology. You need to learn how to run your business here in all facets. Yes, you work in behavior. Yes, you work in social work. So we always say, as social workers, or the ones that are in the mental health field, is, we can't add, we don't do numbers, and don't worry, don't even think about the technology part. Because we work in behavior, our brains work a little bit different. And that's all fair and game. That's all fun. Do I enjoy doing it? No. It's not what I want to do. I don't like the technical part of this business, but I have to learn it. This is my baby. This is my commitment. This is my purpose. And so interesting how that came up for me last Thursday. The resentment. How dare you not help me? And then, of course, playing out the scenarios in your head of, if this doesn't work, I've got somebody to blame here and project on. Think about how many times we do that. Think about how many times in a relationship that if we are in a contrasting situation or we're challenged with something and we ask for help, all right? And that help doesn't come in the form that we expect it to. What does that look like for you? Relationships are coming up for me right now. So somebody needs to hear this, and it's been coming up even in my sessions this morning. I had a couple sessions with some clients this morning, and relationships were coming up with that as well. So relationships are when you look at that dynamic of your intimate relationships, husband, wife, I mean your partners. How many times do we expect our partners to do, be, say what we expect them to do, be, and say and act? All right. How many times do we do that? And if we are triggered, like I was triggered, as I explained. If you are, what do you do? Because what happens is if we continue to project, you did this. This is my business, but you did this. That typically would escalate and progress into the night, into the next day, maybe a few days, maybe a week, and then it then just gets thrown under the rug and you guys don't talk about it. There's no chit chat about it. There's no awareness. There's no effective communication. Okay, and that's a tough one. Communication, our styles of communication are very different, are extremely different. All right. And so when that snowballs into something else, those resentments build. And then ultimately you are leaving yourself out of the equation. So if I'm blaming him for what is going wrong with my technology, if I'm blaming him, that leaves me out of it. So I take no responsibility for that. It's his fault because he didn't help me. And that's the belief that I instill in that moment. And then it affects the relationship. And if you are more of a passive communicator, aggressive communicator, that's gonna pan out in and play out in your relationships with your partners. All right. So big awareness there. If we're expecting our partners to be doing things for us, by all means, he does them for me. He would have set it up in a heartbeat, but because he didn't, okay, he didn't help me in that moment. And then I sat in resentment and judgment and all these things. That's automatically a tip and a trick to say, okay, what's going on for me here? For me, it's rejection. For me, it's abandonment. All right. And then once I get to sit in it to say, okay, I'm confused. This is not going well for me. But he's no longer part of the equation. Once I become aware of what I'm doing, he's no longer part of that equation. I have a challenge in front of me. This is my business. This is my challenge. Now he is completely out of it. The head chatter, I like to call it the shitty committee. His head chatter, and the projection on somebody else, on him, that quiets. Okay, sure, it'll maybe come, like as I was trying to figure out my shit, by all means, it definitely, you don't completely get out of it. But I'm human, all right? I'm human. And so he no longer is part of that conversation. I include myself in the solutions. Because when we are angry and in a low vibe on somebody else to fix our shit and the microphone is it's kind of symbolic to everything. You can apply this to anything. But if I'm expecting him to fix my shit, there's no growth there. I wouldn't have learned. And if he would have done it for me, okay, I would have watched him. But I think we all know that when we do it ourselves, when we use our hands cognitively, physically, and do it ourselves, there's a frequency there, and it gets planted into the conscious mind a little bit different than somebody doing it for you. All right. So now I am part of the solution. And then there's no resentment that goes on into the night. There's no resentment that goes on in the morning or the afternoon. And when I was able to sit with my challenge, okay, I'm able to sit with my challenge. This could be anything. So let's take the technology. Let's use any challenge. I use the microphone here and the technology for my business here. Anything. If you are being challenged, if you're being triggered by your partner, or even your mom, your relationships, your siblings, your kids, anything, any trigger is, they wrestle you up. Hey Denise, he wants me to fix this shit. I have the opposite going on here. He wants me to fix his shit. He doesn't want to be accountable for his actions. Absolutely. That's the opposite. That is absolutely the opposite. Okay. And the fact that he wants, because I use the example of I wanted my husband to fix my shit. Okay. That's not his responsibility. Okay. That is not your responsibility. But there's lessons here because our partners are our biggest teachers. Our kids are our biggest teachers. And when we have contrast, or when we're triggered by our partners, and when we're triggered by our kids, and you are not in alignment, he wants you to fix all his shit. He's got his own shit that actually has nothing to do with you, that he's working on. All right. And so, thanks, Denise. Exactly. But you're on point. You're on point. And that's tough though, to live with. Whew. That's a tough one to be with. And it's tough energetically to, set boundaries, because boundaries is energy. And so while he's over here going through his own shit, and a lot of couples right now, the energies between couples is you can see everybody's shit surfacing. All right. So when he blames you, when I blame my husband for not fixing my shit, okay, that's his shit. Okay. But that's hard because then we take that in, and if depending on what your history is, and depending on what your trauma is, it always, when we are triggered and when we are in a low vibe of feeling helpless or hopeless, because I'm sure, Denise, there's times that you feel like, oh my God, I feel so helpless. I feel so hopeless. Like, are we completely on two different planets here? That's the beauty of it, because we pick, and I'm going to go from a higher perspective. We pick our partners in our soul contracts. We pick our parents. And when they are poking at us in this dimension, they are going to do and say and be and believe and value different things. And that's their free will. Okay. When we're triggered by it, and when we get into the low vibe with them, and we get into bed with them, That's our beautiful opportunity for us to say, all right, what can I do for myself? I can't change him. I cannot change him. And I don't want to. I mean, I know sometimes I'm big on control. I'm getting better with it. Just say, can you just listen to what you're saying and what you're doing? Are you nuts? But we go in judgment with that. All right. But if that is opportunity for us to go within and say, what about this? Thanks, Denise. She says she's glad that she tuned in because this is the topic of the week for us. Relationships was big for me as well, and then for clients. So relationships was big for me as well coming in. So I'm glad that you're here. But when we are able to bring it back to us and say, okay, I am aware. Awareness is number one. I am aware without judgment. There's no judgment. You're just observing. You're observing what's going on. You're observing your partner. You're observing your husband. And it's only awareness. It's only observation. And the minute you go into feeling helpless, the minute you feel into going into resentment, you are not resentment. You are not helpless. It's an experience that you are going through because we're human. We live in a paradox. We live in duality. You can't just have love and light. You got to have a little bit of, I like to say I keep on going to that fuck off thing. You got to have both. It's duality. But that when that contrast does come in, we're able to say, all right, I'm aware that this is what I'm experiencing right now. The minute I try to control him, the minute I try to tell him what to say, what to do, what to believe in, how to act, you can feel the resistance. You don't even have to say anything, and I bet you he's on the other end of it, just rolling his eyes or completely not even listening. And you can feel that. So that feels lonely. That feels isolated. And if you are feeling alone and if you are feeling isolated, that's a perfect opportunity for you to go in and say, where is this coming from? Where is this coming from? Isolation. Look at the belief systems that got dripped in and embedded in our subconscious. That's subconscious. That's been coming up. Embedded in our subconscious. We don't even know we're doing it. We just know we're feeling it. So bringing it up, number one, awareness of it, and then being able to sit with yourself quietly without the partner. Put some earphones on, get a nice place, go somewhere. Energy is huge. So you're going to be, even if he's in the home, if you're still finding that there is that energy of resistance, go somewhere, sit with yourself quietly. And I'm big on meditation, whether that's guided. YouTube has a million of guided meditations to go into the subconscious, because it comes from somewhere. You are triggered and reacting, and it comes from somewhere. And then, we get to say thank you to these shitheads. We get to say thank you for triggering me. You're a pain in the ass, but thank you for triggering me. And then once you are able to say, you know what? This scenario, and especially if you've been doing some inner work, I feel like in the last couple of years, I don't think anybody can get away with any inner work, authentic inner work. Our shit just comes up, right? But being able to really sit down, not judging it, not going back into the trauma, not going back into the episode, but being aware, kind of hovering over your life here, kind of taking you through like hypnotherapy per se. You're not in it physically, but you're able to put yourself back in there and say, okay, this is where I'm feeling this. This is where it comes from. And I am not that little girl anymore. I am safe here, all right? I am safe. And being able to work on it doesn't happen overnight, but then you're reprogramming what you tell yourself about that scenario that's coming up today, but you're responding from it. The response that's coming in and the feelings that are coming in are actually from the little you. So you're being able to bring it back in and say, wow, I feel rejected here. I feel hopeless, helpless, defeated. And being able, because we are aligned with the people. I know we feel like we're aliens with some of these family members. And we feel like, holy shit, like, how did this even happen? You put them there to work on your life ascension, your soul ascension. And then not being stuffing it and avoiding it, because that's what we were taught to do. Don't cry. Don't be angry. Be polite. Be respectful. Be a classy lady. And yeah, well, we're 2023 here, so that's why a lot of our shit is coming back up. That intergenerational trauma that mom went through, grandma went through, grandpa, dad, that's intergenerational trauma. You know? Oh, yeah, Denise says that she's done a lot of inner work, but it's still a challenge trying to help him empower himself. Yes, he's my biggest lesson. Love that. Love that. Love that. Biggest lesson. We got to watch the trying to help. That's what stands out for me there in that sentence, Denise, is trying to help him empower himself. You know where I'm going to go with this. You know exactly where I'm going to go with this. When we try to change others or empower others, that's a frequency of resistance. That's a frequency of lack. All right. And they have to do that on their own. They have to do that on their own. And that challenge, there's no destination, right? There's challenges. And all the work that you've done, I'm sure if you even look at your life from 2 years ago, all right, from 2 years ago to now, the growth and the awareness, the raise in consciousness. When I say raise in consciousness, the collective is doing it. That frequency is Mother Earth is doing it. But when I say raise in consciousness, it's awareness. Okay, it's awareness. So I'm sure there's been a big change even in the last couple of years for you. Okay, so that would be the higher version of yourself would be today in comparison to 2 years ago. All right. But it's still challenging because you're trying to help him empower himself. There's the resistance right there. That's the resistance. Okay. It is not your responsibility to, there's a difference between modeling empowerment. So when I empower my clients or when I encourage, that's encourage, right? But if there is even a frequency, because we can say one thing and our frequency and energy and how we feel in our heart, we just want them to change so bad. Do you feel that? We fucking change. Like you feel that lack and that resistance when you surrender that is not your responsibility. It's not your responsibility. When you surrender that, and it's tough, Denise, I get that. I mean, it's hard because if you come from a place of having, and we all have some trauma, but if you come from a place and your experience are of instability and feeling unsafe as a child, that's going to come up for you in your adulthood. And so in my response, I think it's the changes. Please evolve. I love that. I love that. She says, I think it's the changes in my responses. Yeah. Please evolve. Yeah. And again, you are not in charge of his ascension. You are not in charge of that ascension. Believe me, though, he's watching you. He is watching you. He is feeling you. He sees you. You want to talk about empowerment? Sit in your strength and your courage without trying to change his. So when he's going through something, or if he's saying or doing something that just rattles you, if you are trying to go into the scenario with him and trying to change his perception or perspective or his value of that, you're automatically in a resistance vibration. Being able to be a soundboard, protect yourself, get some light in there, get some, protect your energy, protect your vibration. Archangel Michael is big on that, so get some light around you. But like you said, your responses, I love that. Please evolve. That made me laugh. Yeah. Oh God, can you imagine if we were just kind of going around like, just please evolve, see how I see it. And it's a stuck mentality. That's the thing. And that's what you're feeling, Denise, is when you're in that challenge, you're feeling challenged because the mentality that you fall into, sometimes you're not always in it. I guarantee you, especially if you've done a lot of inner work, like you've said, you come in and out of it, but you're up against, you're being challenged because it is your beliefs, your perceptions, it's that projection. Okay. And I can guarantee he's not receptive to that, but it's quantum physics is get the shield. Yeah. She said, but I know I'm evolving. Absolutely. Oh no, if you are feeling challenged, if you are feeling ascension symptoms, if you are content and neutral majority of the time, especially in 2023, there's something you're avoiding. If the majority of the time you are feeling from morning, night, and noon, you are feeling there's triggers, there's mood shifts, you can't even really explain it, it's because you're doing the inner work. This isn't easy shit. Working on yourself is the hardest thing we will do in this dimension as the human species because of the trauma that we've experienced in the collective. All right. And that is the gift. That's why we're here. Okay. But the fact that, like you said, but I know I'm evolving. Absolutely. Especially if you're being triggered, because before, when we were triggered, even 10 years ago, 15 years ago, when we were triggered, there was avoidance. It was like, oh, we're not going to talk about it. There's no point. Like, oh, we're just going to get into the conversation again. Feel that difference even from 10 years ago, 5 years ago. Now it's like it's surfacing and we can't avoid it. We can't not talk about it. We can't. Because of consciousness, because of that awareness. Once we turn on our consciousness lens and we become more aware, like you said, as you're evolving, there's no destination there. You just go throughout the years, throughout the experiences. But there's a big shift, even in the way we are responding to our partners from 5 years ago, from 10 years ago. And give that to yourself. And the fact that you stick in there with him, we stick into these relationships, and by all means, it's different if there's abuse. It's different if there's there has to be safety there. But when we are with these partners, we pick them. And if we have long-term relationships with these partners, there's a lot of lessons to learn. And when we're now bringing up all of our stuff, and if we're triggered, it's going to come from a place, a lot of times it's going to come from a place of not feeling stable, not feeling safe in even the conversations. I'm not speaking safety as in, you're going to get physically injured, but feeling safe, like I'm not being heard, Being heard is a big one because that comes with rejection. So if you can really, and then take your experiences, your life experiences into the conversation today and start normalizing what this is, because Denise is evolving, I'm evolving. Okay, we're all evolving on different levels. Your husband's evolving. Okay, he is evolving. He is absolutely evolving, but that is not your responsibility. All right. And so as time goes on here, as time goes on, and the relationships that are meant to be together, because contracts, relationships end. Yeah, exactly. Slowly. And we even try to control the time. I'm so guilty of this. I am so guilty of this. I want it now. And we're impatient because we're not feeling, especially when I was younger, I lived a very fast paced life because I moved from home to home to home to out to foster home to different towns. So it was very fast. And if things actually slowed down for me, this was what's coming in for me right now. If things actually slowed down for me, I was feeling unsafe. I didn't like that feeling. And so in today, as we work on ourselves and as we work on all of the shit that we've dealt with and that are dealing with throughout the relationships we have today, it can't be a race. And for me, I get frustrated and resistance and the fact that it's so fucking slow. So it's like, oh, okay, but where does that come from? Where does it come from? And when I get to really tear it apart and say, well, wait a minute, I was in fight or flight much of my upbringing. I was in fight or flight, gotta go, there was a lot going on. And so now that I'm really looking at my shit and my stuff and even the line of work that I do, I want it instant. And I've actually, when I am like that and saying, okay, it's not showing up, the sign that I wanted is not showing up, my relationship is not moving in the direction that I quite wanted to. What, again, bringing it back and saying, what is this about? And then surrendering and releasing the control of expecting when, where, how. That's actually the formula pretty much for manifestation, is set the intention. And if you can really believe it in your core, and giving empathy and compassion to your husband and saying, wow, this has been a tough life. Can you imagine the shit that's going on in his mind? And it's no judgment. We're all giving, instead of judgment or resentment, we go to compassion. We go to understanding and surrendering that he has his own contract. All right. And then, like I was talking about a couple sentences ago, is contracts do end. Relationships do end. All right. And only you are going to be able to, because we want to leave, we want to fight, we want to flight. That's been many of the collective's response. Leaving relationships, getting divorces, and being pretty easy. And by all means, there's free will there. But then we're bypassing the lessons that we want, our souls wanted to come into. We came to this dimension to get duality. We came to this dimension to learn these lessons. So if we're leaving one relationship and we're not working on our shit, okay? And that's why I'm not too, when I've got clients that say, oh, fuck it, I'm just getting a divorce. It's like, all right, of course that's your choice. But what are you running from? What can you, until you can sit in this relationship and being completely neutral to what he is doing, being completely neutral, and then coming to yourself, leaving would push him to empower. Again, that's not your responsibility. She says, yes, She says, and that's my question. Leaving would push him to empower himself, maybe. Again, that may be it, but that's not your responsibility to contemplate in your head. Because if you say, if I leave him, then I'm doing him justice. I'm helping him with his evolution and his ascension. All right. And yes, we do ourselves favors. We help each other out as souls. But how does that feel for you when you are saying, okay, you know what? I'm really contemplating leaving my husband. Let's just put that out there. Let's give that scenario there. I'm leaving him. And there is a lot, and that's why relationships came up. There's a lot in contemplation right now of ending the relationship. But when you say, okay, I'm leaving him, is there any unfinished business with yourself, with you? Okay. It's not saying I'm going to leave him to help him. You feel that frequency, you feel that vibration, and that actually has nothing to do with you. You are doing it for him, to empower him. A lot of times when we hit rock bottom, if I leave him, he's going to hit rock bottom. When I say, if the relationship is ready to end and the contract is ready to be done, tip, you are no longer triggered by him. You are no longer rattled by him. You are no longer feeling the need to empower him. You can absolutely send him love. You can actually, that's what will come in for you, is you're no longer triggered by him. You can then turn from resentment, hopelessness, the need to fill his cup per se. Getting there, very interesting. So once you get out of the mentality and you're done triggering, you're not triggered anymore. You can sit in neutrality, really checking in with yourself, because this is your life. We have homes together, we have lives together, we have kids together, this is your life. So you're not running from him to fix him, okay? You would be leaving the relationship and closing the contract because you have learned so much about yourself and you are not avoiding what has triggered you in this relationship. And that's why many, and this is what came up in my session this morning. She was repeating the pattern, getting into relationships and with men, the same. And it's because you are taking your beliefs, you are taking the things that you need to work on, these lessons that you need to work on, and the trauma and that you need to work on. You're leaving it with one relationship. It's hard work. This is hard work. This doesn't feel very good. This doesn't feel very good at all. Thanks, Denise. But what you're doing is you're actually bringing it into Guy B and Guy C and Guy D. So when you're able to be in the relationship with all neutrality, because you can't change him, but you can observe yourself, taking some time, of course, because these are not easy decisions, taking yourself and saying, all right, I'm no longer, I don't feel the need that I need to help him evolve, or I don't need to change him, or I don't wish him to be a different person than he is. And I'm okay with that. I love him. We had many, many years together, and I hope, and I send him so much love, and I send him the vibration and the gift of love on his ascension, and I'm making the choice to leave this relationship. And then you bring it to him, and there is no negotiating. It's not, oh no, and you're going to see fireworks. Because I've actually done this in my own life, in my own relationships. And you're going to get it back and saying, oh God, no, I can't lose you. I can't, because then they get rattled because you stick around. Teach people how to treat to who you are. You taught him that. But when you really get to a point that you're no longer rattled in this relationship, you're no longer triggered in this relationship, and you're able to see him as a soul on this earth, in this beautiful dimension, and then say, thank you, we are done here. You're not taking it into your next relationship because you can't change him. You cannot change him. All right. So then if he comes back and says, oh my God, A, B, and C, and I'm going to change. No, you're perfect the way you are. He is perfect the way he is in that energy, because energy shifts. And Denise, you are perfect the way you are in that energy. But what happens is when we collide energies together, we collide our souls together. We love getting rattled. Yes, please rattle me. Yes, trigger me. And then I get to learn something about myself. But you're no longer trying to change him, and you're no longer trying to empower him. You will do that by your actions. And if you do decide if the person does decide to leave the relationship, and if he chooses to evolve and change, but that's none of your business. That's no longer that's no longer where you are energetically. And now on to the next chapter, turning the page. And then when you're triggered again, and when you get into your next relationship, and sure, there's contrast. Believe me, just because I say you're not bringing your shit into other relationship, there's by all means, my shit still comes up, but I'm no longer projecting or trying to fix. Trying to fix others is the biggest resistance that we are feeling as a collective right now. Trying to fix others. And ultimately it's fixing ourselves and being there for ourselves. You just want your husband to be there for you. And I'm big on my thing is abandonment, right? I just want to be seen and heard and loved. I've started actually giving that to myself and really holding space for me. And what kind of funny thing actually happens? He's out of that work because it's my contract. This is my soul. What actually is funny is the energy shifts with him and I. Because I'm not looking for someone outside of me to fill my cup. And I've been doing it for myself. But it's because I've been sitting with my triggers, and it's because I've been sitting with my shit. And so that's a little bit of a tip there. For the ones that are even getting this on the replay here, that's a tip. When you can sit in neutrality, because a lot of clients come to how do I know when it's time? There's a difference between if you're abused. That's, verbal abuse as well. Like, I'm sorry, but no, you are not allowed to speak to me like that. There's a difference between using your boundaries. You're not being triggered there, though. Okay, you're not being triggered when you say, excuse me, you cannot speak to me like that. I do not deserve to be spoken to like that. She says, awesome, we shouldn't need to have someone else validate you. Absolutely. It's nice when they do, but if we feel the need, so when we do get validated, that's just an extra treat, because of course we should be kind and say nice things to each other. But when we're triggered, when we're not getting validated, and when they're not doing and saying things that we think they should be doing, that is a perfect opportunity to say, okay, what do I need to give to myself? What do I need to give to myself today? And allowing that to take its course, because this is like it's slowly. accepting that it's slowly, accepting that it's slowly. Okay. That's okay that it's slow. It means that we're not done. We're not done with that one thing. Okay. And when we are able to sit and being triggered, like I said, it's not like saying, like when I say to my kids, sorry, but that's unacceptable. You don't speak like that. That was actually quite rude, and this is why it was rude. That's not what I'm talking about. There's a different tone there. When we set boundaries, that's actually the opposite of being triggered, because that's healthy. Okay. If you are in an abusive relationship physically, thanks, Denise. If you are being physically abused, I mean, that's, you got to remain safe. That's different. But when you are, years and years with this one person and one soul, this is evolution. This is evolution. And the cool thing is when we can say, I picked you. I picked you to help me here in this dimension. I picked you. You actually go from resentment and sometimes hate to an anger to compassion, and we see it from a higher perspective. All right. So that's a trick there. Boundaries are not being triggered. When we're able to use our boundaries, you're not triggered. It's when you are trying to fix outside yourself, someone or something outside of yourself, or if somebody doesn't respond as you expected them to. They owe you nothing. They owe you nothing. Okay. And I know sometimes that's tough to hear, but our partners, they owe us nothing. They don't. We are with them side by side here. And on this journey together, it's a dance. And if we are expecting things from them, by all means, we like nice things, and we liked, if they're doing nice things for us, if they're saying nice things, if they are contributing to the household, if, all those things, that's all nice and fine. But if they're not, then you have a choice to make. And if they're repeatedly not, and they're repeatedly not doing what you value and what you feel to be right in a relationship, after sitting with yourself, after really looking at your triggers, then there's choices. And that's the beauty about free will. There is choices. And if we're scared to leave the relationship, that's an opportunity. You're not ready to leave yet. If you're scared to leave the relationship because of security, safety, you're not ready to leave yet. People are probably thinking like, what the fuck? I want to run. You're not ready to leave yet, because you're just going to take it. You can run as far and as fast as you want. That's what people do. We avoid. And when we avoid, it creeps up again. And then we say, oh shit, like again, same thing, same arguments, same triggers, same. All right. So that's that, But anywho, Denise, I really appreciate you coming on here. And I mean, I'm so grateful, because relationships, that's what it was today. Relationships, why we do the things we do, so it's nice that we had a scenario and experience on here on the live today. So I appreciate you. Keep on doing what you're doing. And you're going to rock it. Thanks, Denise. You're awesome as well. But I will leave it here. Okay. Be kind to yourself. You're very welcome, Denise. Be kind to yourself, and be kind to your lovers. Be kind to your lovers. Okay. Bring them in, and if you want to avoid and deflect, switch it to love and giving them a hug, sharing space with them. That's a frequency that's always going to win, is love. All right. Thank you so very much. Catch me here again next Thursday at noon for Tough Talks. I'm sending you all the light and all the love. Bye for now.